Syria in our central London studio. Abdul, good to speak to you. Really interested in your opinion on this as a Syrian national. First of all, on the coordinated airstrikes, a positive or a negative thing?
Well, as a researcher at Air Wars, what we look for is the civilian casualties wherever they fall due to international airstrikes. And what we've seen local media reported 3 people were injured near Homs due to a deflected missile or a missile that did not hit the target. So at least there were 3 injured people. That's what we know for sure. And we have to keep in mind that any airstrike, the civilians are always the biggest losers wherever you bomb. Take an example, for example, the coalition airstrikes in Raqqa or Deir ez-Zor, where thousands of people were killed and more than 80% of Raqqa was destroyed. So any airstrikes, whether it's in Homs or eastern Syria or in Damascus, there will be casualties, and that's what we care for. That's what we research and care about.
Theresa May put her legal argument forward on the basis of humanitarian suffering. What do you think about that?
Well, politicians need really to ask themselves, are these strikes going to make things better or worse for the civilians on the ground? After 7 years, there's more than 500,000 civilians got killed. And so what are these airstrikes going to do? Are they going to make things better for them, or they're going to make things even worse for them? And that's the thing that politicians really need to ask themselves and find solutions for. What we've seen in the chemical attacks by Assad, up to 70 people were killed. That was appalling and outrageous. But again, you need to find a solution without harming civilians. Civilians have been the biggest losers so far in this tragedy.
What do you think about the disinformation that's out there, accusations of staged videos, accusations that it was in fact rebels who carry out gas attacks? What's your opinion?
I've seen lots of videos and attacks and fake news so far. At Air Wars, that's our job is to double check the pictures and videos. And I haven't seen staged videos so far. The videos we were using, we double check them, we verify them, we try to verify them as much as possible. We're an open source. There were some stage by kids that they were acting and showing what happened during the attack. That was from 2013. And it's been circulated now as if that's what happened now was a stage. It was not a stage. It was a children play back in 2013 for people to see what happened in these strikes. So this was completely different. I did not see any acting or videos of these things did not happen. We've seen videos of patients suffocating. We've seen patients dying. There were reports of up to 70 civilians were gassed and died in this chemical attack. That was really outrageous. They were hiding in buildings. There were civilians dressed in civilian clothes. There were children. There were women and men. They were all civilians, and this was outrageous and was not the first time that chemical weapons we've seen them being used against civilians in Syria.
From what you're hearing, do the Syrian people who are affected by this generally want Western intervention? And by that, I don't mean regime change. I mean, that could vary from anything to what we've seen over the weekend, what is described as targeted military strikes, anything upward of that. Is there a general feeling that they want the involvement or not?
Well, I can't really speak on behalf of all Syrians because there are lots of divisions. Some people are pro-Assad, they're minority maybe. There are a lot of people against Assad. They want a regime change. That's what they started the revolution in 2011. So there are lots of division. There are some people who are pro, some people are against. But again, in any airstrikes, in any intervention, you need to think of the civilians. Nobody so far really cares about the civilians. Over 500,000 died in the 7-year tragedy. There are lots of people in prison, lots of people being tortured. So we need to start thinking about civilians before thinking, oh, what's going to happen? We need to change this, we need to change that. Civilians are the biggest losers. The civilians are paying the biggest price. We need to start thinking about these civilians. We need to start listening to them and see what's best for them instead of what's best for these countries carrying out these strikes.
Abdul Tahan, thank you for taking the time to speak to us today.
Thank you.
In other news, a former police officer has told the High Court he felt forced to give the BBC information about a planned raid on Sir Cliff Richard's house in